Great. Let's, hold on. Let me just see if I can. Surviving is what I'm trying to do here. But here we are, autism and COVID. Everybody is on lockdown, I think, pretty much now in India. No, yes, I see. I have access to 5 people, so so I'm looking at your faces, and the reason I have this book here that I wrote is to keep me focused on the most important part of who I am and what I do and what I have to offer. Because let me get some water here. Hold on. When I was in Maryland with Temple Grandin, who wrote the foreword, she said one thing about the book. She says, this is practical. This is practical. And this is what I want this talk to be. I'm looking for making real progress with your child, if you're a parent, or real progress in terms of working with these autistic kids. And I already spoke to a couple of you who are concerned about speech and language. Great, I want that. I want you to keep on the chat button, tell me what you're interested in, and I'll try to gear my talk a little towards that. Whether you're interested in, here's an example, you may be interested in your older kid getting a job. I mean, so I'm not really going to talk about that unless I get a question about it. So questions you may have, there's a chat function. You could text me. There's my text, my phone number. Don't call because my messages get full. You're free to text now, afterwards, and I'm here to try to make a difference with your child. Maybe routines are a question, on board, getting a job, like I said. How about friends? How do I teach my kid to talk? Now I have to be left alone because it's too much in this enclosed environment. So chat, ask me my questions, and I'll have Saki, who's doing a wonderful job relaying it to me. Now, do you see my cursor, Kamikshi? Paravi, Nitu, do you see this cursor? You do. All right, diagram of a Zoom meeting, attention span. I understand that about 2% of your mind is on my talk. I understand that. Checking out my house or my office here, probably 75%. It's not 10%. I think it's maybe more 50, 60%. You guys are looking at the picture, my wife's picture on the wall, or some of my stuff here I have in my office. I get that. I understand that. So this is a cute picture of maybe if I move my camera higher, 10%. So I understand that most of your minds are not paying attention to me, but we can deal with that. It's a whole new world. Number one, taking care of yourself. And this can't be said enough. It's like the old airline, you put the oxygen on your face first before you can help anybody else. And that's important. We're not going to talk about that, but I need to mention that. Taking care of yourself is really important. When we get to routines, they'll be part of it. Protecting, right? Your loved ones that may or may not be ill. And I'm not here to say, does anybody know anybody who knows somebody who has COVID? And the answer is going to be yes. I know it's going to be yes. Everybody knows somebody who knows somebody, if not an immediate. So that's a major concern. The other thing is about this whole new world is educating your child. Okay, that's something I can talk about. That's what this is all about. You guys now are forced to be homeschooled. This is a choice for most of you. If you had a choice, homeschooling is overwhelming in the best of times. It's really overwhelming. And now you're forced to do this. So the incredible burden of what to do, how to do it, and just surviving is the first question. My job is to make this one of the most exciting parts of your life, and we'll talk about that. and the kid's life. Education versus schooling. What's the difference? If it was a small group, I'd like to get some of your responses, or you could chat it to me. Schooling is, basically a school and the school day and the school routine. Education has no limits. I know you're limited maybe to your house, but the idea of education really could be anything. It could really be anything. And that's one of the keys of working with your child in this difficult time. Education literally could be anything. And it's limitless. And that's where, when I'm talking about thriving, that's part of the thriving that I'll be talking about later. If you could go with your child into a limitless exploration. And then parent training. Now, I'm looking at this parent training like, I don't need to be trained, but whatever you want to call it, homeschooling, parent training, educating parents, sharing my experience. I've been doing this for, almost 40 years, thousands of people. I want to share with you what I learned. And what I really want to do here is turning a negative into a positive. And I believe that this is such an opportunity. So first, I'm going to talk about routines, sensory awareness or sensory overload, and love. Okay, I think love is underrated, and being happy is underrated in our system. So I need to talk about this so your home is going to have some degree of comfort. We can't teach anything if the kid is overloaded with stimulation. So I want to talk about that first. And next, and this is where I'll talk about the language and socialization, where we want to significantly improve your child. We're not talking about surviving here. We're talking about real progress and fundamental change. So that's really what I'm going for now. And finally, I'll tell you this, I already kind of said it already, the secret to thriving. Mirror the routines of your school. All right, okay, routines. If I hear too what other people are saying, and you tell me if this makes any sense to you, that they're saying, follow the routines, what the kid is used to in your school. So snack time at 10:30, and nap time is another time, and kind of mimic the routines of the school, and that's going to have peace at home. It's great if it works, but do you really think that's? I can't imagine that really working. That you're going to follow the routines of the school. Here, let me ask you this: the school routines. Do you think they're for the kid? Now you got to chat me and Saki, let me know what people say. Are the routines for the child or the routines are for the teacher? Hang on, I have to pause just a second. Hang on a second, please. my kid came in to help me with the technical stuff, but we're okay now. I want to make a case. Now, you might not agree with me that the routines in the school, for the kid to be in school, the routines really are mostly, not all, mostly for the teacher. I'm not saying this in a negative way. I'm saying the kid comes in, hangs up his coat, or sits down, all this, it's really for the teacher to be able to teach in not a chaotic environment. 60%, the routines are there for the teacher's sake, not the kid, in a way. I mean, if the class is in a circle and the kid sees this incredible butterfly and he's going to the window and this excitement could get this kid to talk for the first time, and it might, what is the teacher often going to do? I'm not going to stop everything. No, you have to come back and be with everybody because this is the way with what we're doing now. And you can have free time later. So it's not really an individualized program, which is the law in India as well as in the United States. It's like you have to go by a routine. And I'm not saying that's bad. I'm saying that's good to the extent that now you as a parent at home, I'd rather, instead of following the school's routine, which I think it's great if you can do it, but I think it's impossible really to do, establish your own routines. The kid likes routines, establish your own routines. What does that mean? That means after lunch, if you have to have a Zoom session, a meeting with somebody, if you have to take a nap, if you have to cook, you try to do things on a regular basis, and then the kid knows after lunch, you're on your own. You have to leave mommy alone. You have to leave daddy alone. You can do a puzzle, you could do video games, you could do your homework. After lunch, it's alone time for me. Establish your own routines so you could survive. Think of what's important to you and kind of put that in a day where the kid knows that he or she has to do something at a certain time. Maybe, I'm using the after lunch example, maybe that's really the only time the kid's going to get his work done or homework done. Otherwise, it doesn't work for whatever reason. All right, after lunch, you do your homework, but it has to be from necessity, make it real. In other words, there may be a time when you need your alone time or whatever that means. You don't really care what the kid does, as long as the kid leaves you alone for an hour or a half an hour or 15 minutes or whatever it is. So make it real like that. Don't force the kid to do homework when all you really want to do is just be alone for 15 minutes because you have some business to attend to. So be real, establish your own routines. Here's the problem. We used to have an out as parents, as therapists, teachers. We used to say when the kid wants ice cream and it's impossible because the schedule was changed, we used to say don't worry, we'll get ice cream tomorrow, right? We all do that to appease the kid. We don't have that anymore. We can't say we could get ice cream tomorrow. We can't say we're going to go out for pizza or something. We can't do that. We can't do that. It's not part of our repertoire anymore, and that's an issue. At least be realistic and say, okay, we got to deal with this. But that's one of the problems. Now, you see this picture. For some reason, it took me about 6 seconds to get a picture of a kid screaming. It was the easiest thing to get. Sensory, we just have to be aware that now there might be more people at home. Dad might have to be home where usually he's not. There just may be more people, more smells, more noise. The kid might feel anxious, oppressed. We just need to be aware of it with some kids. We don't know what the solution will be. Less hugging, more hugging. It depends on the kid. The sensory stuff is an interesting dynamic. Some kids need more, some kids need less of something. Like I said here, number 3, more or less of something. But we have to be aware that here you have this wonderful routine, and maybe your kid really needs to be isolated. You have to be flexible, be open for your child to be isolated. The kid needs to be alone for an hour, and you're saying, wait a second, I'm here to teach the kid. That might be what your child needs. The kid needs just to be alone because he's overloaded in a sensory way. Just be aware of it, be flexible. You have to see it from your child's point of view. You know how many times I've said that? And it's a difficult thing to understand in different contexts, but you have to see it from your child's point of view. Your routine may not work. I'm pointing with my finger. I should point with the pointer. Your routine may not work. Just be aware of this sensory overload stuff. Oh, by the way, loving your kid may not be enough. Your child has to feel it has to be from his point of view. There's what I was saying before. Your child, from his point of view, has to understand the love. So I'm going to play, I have this tape, this clip, but before I play it, let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. This little girl, 9 years old, she feels nobody loved her. So I find out the father would hit her on her butt. It's like a potch. I think that's an old Indian term, or maybe it's Yiddish. You know, hits her on her butt. Now, this is interesting. The son, her younger brother, when he gets hit, he realizes, I did something wrong. I'm not going to do it again. All right, that sort of works. You know, even though you may not like hitting anybody, okay, that system seems to work. The kid, my client, the girl who has Asperger's, whose mind is sort of straight and narrow, says, how could somebody hit me? How could somebody love me and hit me? How could someone who's hitting me, how could he love me? He doesn't love me. You see the difference? Now she feels nobody loves her. There's another reason why she thinks her mother doesn't love her. Now she feels nobody loves her. She starts cutting herself with the edge of a binder or something. She feels nobody loves her. So from her point of view, she didn't feel, the father, you know, I had the father in my office because of this. And he says, well, what else can I do? That's what he tells me. This is how I was brought up. What else I can do? And I said, look, this has nothing to do with you, has nothing to do with parenting. I told him, if you want your kid not to feel that you love her, then keep hitting her. This is totally from her point of view. And so it's something else to be aware of to have some comfort at home. So let me see if this plays here. Could you see it? Paravi? Is there a family feeling that they want to be with you, they love you? Isn't there some kind of good feeling of love?
There's always a fight.
Where's the love?
I don't know.
I'm looking for the love.
Well, you're not finding it.
But isn't that the whole idea of being with your family, that you love each other?
What?
What do you mean, what?
What?
So first we talked about the routines, the sensory overload. We talked about the child needs to feel love. Hopefully with those parameters, we have some semblance of peace in the house. Now we're ready to do the heavy lifting, where I'm going to talk about homeschooling, parent training, whatever you want to call it, but we really want your child to significantly improve. This is the opportunity to do that. And I'm going to talk about two things: language, that I already know some of you are interested in, and socialization. And I'm looking at fundamental change. I want you to be able to do kind of what I do privately. You have the opportunity to do maybe what the schools aren't doing. So I'm looking at it in terms of that fundamental change. So this is a good time for me to take a breath. Oh, I'm going to tell you a secret. And I wonder, I'm afraid to stop share because Saki, and because I'm afraid I may not get back to it, because I wanted to see your faces in this.
We'll get back to it.
Well, yeah, well, pull up a chair. My kid came. So I'm going to tell you something I've never told anybody before, because it's just like how I work, and I never thought of telling it, but now it's appropriate. Did you ever think of your kid may be 3, 4, now he's 8 or 10 and maybe 18 years old. The kid's been in social situations. Why doesn't the kid still have a friend? Why isn't the kid talking? Why isn't the kid communicating? I mean, do you ever think like, well, it's not because, he's not seeing kids. He's seeing kids every day in school. Why isn't there enormous progress after a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years? Why? And here's my secret. Because there's something that the kid needs to do in terms of their own thinking, their own process, before they can have a friend. I'll work with a kid for maybe 2 or 3 months to somehow change them in some significant way. And now they're ready for a friend. To have a friend, all right, to communicate. And socialization and language go right hand in hand together. You don't talk unless you expect an answer from somebody. Literally. You don't learn how to talk unless you're expecting somebody to respond. Well, that's socialization. I lost my train of thought here. So what is needed for the child to be ready to socialize, to be ready to talk? You have that opportunity to do it. This is the opportunity of a lifetime to get your kid ready so they understand that somebody else. Let me see if I talk about that. So they understand why somebody else exists, that they understand that there are other people in the world except them. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. But this is such an opportunity for you to do something so significant for your child. So here I have something that you probably, will see that's silly. Observe your child, assess your child. And you're telling me as parents, I know my child better than anybody. What do you mean observe? What do you mean assess the child? I know my child. I want you to see the child in a slightly different way. Leave your child alone and see what your child does. Is the child bothering you? That tells you something. Is he obsessed with the video games? Is he lining things up, in a row? Just kind of see who he is without any intervention. And try to get a sense of, I know it's silly, you already know this, but just try to see a place to start. Language, socialization, just kind of look at it sort of therapeutically and not as a parent. I'll let you read this. Oh my God, you smiled. So you do appreciate me and how I'm killing myself to keep you alive and well. And the baby's saying, nope, just pooping. So, yeah, it's going to work. It's not going to work. We have to have a sense of humor about it. We have to appreciate it. We have to appreciate our kids and sometimes, laugh about what's going on and what's not going on. Language. At home exercises for language, eliciting language from your child. I'm talking about nonverbal kids. Eliciting language. Find a way for your child to talk or to start expressing themselves. But you know what's done instead a lot of times? And don't tell me no, I know this happens a lot. Do not fill in for your child. Your child says something in my office, the kid's saying something, and I don't understand what the kid's saying. And the mother says, oh, yeah, he wants you to like, I have all kinds of stuff. He wants you to like the match. And he's saying, I don't know, he's saying go or something. Oh, he wants you to like the match. Well, why doesn't he tell me? If that's in his mind, and thinking of a kid I saw just, I don't know, maybe a month ago now. If that's his mind, that he wants me to like the match, if he has that concept in his mind, he should be able to say it. He really should. My philosophy of language is that not everybody believes this. There are different opinions. I'll let you know that right away. But my philosophy is that language comes from concepts. Comes from concepts. If the kid has the concept, he should be able to express it. So he says go, and we accept go. You know, the parent, the teacher, the therapist, oh, okay, I know what you mean. Well, we're teaching the kid. This hurts me because the kid is actually learning that these magical words, this last one here, do not accept magical speech. These magical words, it could be go, it could be open, it could be thank you. I had a kid that wanted me to open the bottle of water. He says, thank you. Why does he say that every time? Why? One reason, it works. It works. Here, thank you. Thank you means everything. Everything the kid says, thank you. Why it hurts me is that we taught him that. We learned that. We accepted that. He's taking the easy way out. We all take the easy way out. In terms of language and language development, these kids are beating the system. And it really hinders their speech and expression. No more dragging your hand. No more dragging your you dragged your hand to get some milk from the refrigerator. No, you know what you want. Say something, even if it's a sound. Say something. A lot of these kids, and I'm talking about this maybe a little more than usual because I spoke to some parents before the talk, and language was one of the key things. But I just want to say that when if the kid has the idea of dragging here because he wants milk, let him say something. Why not? Why not? What's the worst that could happen? The kid gets frustrated and maybe cries, and we don't want that. We don't want to upset these kids. But this is what I was going to say. These kids often don't have a connection to language, literally. They're not connecting the purpose of language. And they don't know what language, they don't know that language is going to make their lives easier. Once they know that, all right, once you meet, you as a parent or a therapist, once you know that that's what these kids are not what they need a connection to language. Wow, I could spend 40 hours trying to figure that out. And I'm not saying every kid that's the issue, but it is the issue with some kids, right? Everything I'm saying is true with some kids. Maybe not yours, but I'm doing the best I can. So that's language. And please, I don't know if I've gotten texts with the about questions about language, but I'm glad to take more. Hold it. How come Joan, I may need your help. How come it doesn't go back?
Let's click on the presentation.
What?
Okay, we can use.
Oh, that's good. It's great having a kid around. Okay, all right, we're up to the, okay. All right, they look, they're as sweet as they look. Very, very sweet. Okay, now I need your participation. Let's try this. Saki, help me out with this. Here's this girl, and I'm going to show you a tape of her in a minute. But here's this girl, and I don't know if you see this. I have a plant over there in my office here where I am. And here's a watering can. All right. Now here's a question, and I expect people to answer this question. And that is, routinely, and these kids like routines, we know that, routinely, she comes in every time, what is my plant? That's what she does. This watering can, which is empty now, this watering can has had no water in it. So I gave it to her with no water in the watering can. She takes the can and she's going like this. She's just I don't know. She's mystified. She doesn't know. She's kind of thinking, I guess. What do I do? Now, this is what I expect answers from this question. What do I do as an educator? I see her standing there going like this for, I don't know, 30 seconds. She's going like this. What do I do? What do I say? What do I do? I'll give you a hint. It's a tricky question. What do I say? And I'm looking for some kind of chat. Press chat on the bottom and give me your answer. I'm expecting a couple of answers. What do I do? And Saki's going to let me know 2 or 3 of them. What do I do?
Soel Majumdar says, take her to a tap, say water, and fill. Ranjana says,
Say water and
fill. Take her to a tap, say water, and fill.
And you have to spell that last word, and not food.
And fill, F-I-L.
And fill. Okay. Great. Okay. All right.
Do you want to know the rest?
No. That's good. Thank you. Now look. I'm going to tell you the truth. Whether you like it or if I'm offensive, I'll take that risk. I think I'll be very strong. I'll use strong language just to make a point. It's audacious for you to know what she should say. I'm going to talk about my book for a minute. Why should she say what you think she should say? Here. I'm not plugging my book. This is part of the talk. The subtitle of my book is Tapping the Reservoir of Normalcy to Treat Autism. Tapping. There's a normalcy with these kids. I want that normalcy to surface. Tapping the reservoir of normalcy to treat autism. I believe that. That's my subtitle. I believe that to be true. Why? I want to tap that normalcy and have that normalcy come out. Why should the kids say water? You know, I know I'm being hard on you, but this is the discussion I'll have when I've given this talk, whatever, I don't know, 30 times, 40 times. Why should the kids say water? Why should the kids say fill? Because it's in your mind? No. I said it was a tricky question. I was fair. Here's the answer. When I see this kid looking at this watering can and thinking, the answer is, and I know some of you know this, and I'm just trying to make a point, and I know half of you probably already know this. I know that. I'm not so blind to this. But I'm trying to make a point. What you do is say nothing. You say nothing. You give the kid the opportunity to come up with something. If she doesn't, you know what happens? You know what you do? You do something else. You give another opportunity for her to say something. In one session, I might do this 30 times with a kid. Okay? If it comes up once every one time that she says something, and by the way, this might have been her first word. If not, it was like one of her very first words. So she looked at this and she said empty. She didn't say fill, she didn't say what, she said empty because that came to her mind. Now, that came to her mind. So now the speech therapists out there could tell me if I'm right or not. When you teach a kid to speak, you have a list of the most common words, the top 50 words, whatever, cat or dog or mommy or this and that. And then kids will, you teach these kids I'm guessing that empty is not part of those first 50 words. It's not part of what she should be able to speak for her first word, empty. It came from within her. It's your kid. The kid is unique. Let the language come from within. And I hope I don't know if Dr. Kairam is here or not, but that phrase resonates with this doc in the city who's been doing this as long as I've been doing this. language should come from within. So now I'm going to actually show you an example of what I actually did with this kid. This is the same kid I'm talking about the same period of time when she started empty, like, wow. Now, after, by the way, after she says empty, all right, and this, people may like this or may not like this. After she's empty, I don't go, yes, good job. Who cares? I don't want to reinforce empty. I want to reinforce the thinking behind empty. I want that to be communicating to me something. I don't want to say good job. What does that have to do with empty? That makes absolutely no sense to say good job or give her a candy or something. Who cares? She says empty, I respond to it. That's why a kid talks, to get a response, right? She says empty, and I'll say, oh, now, oh, what should we do? What should we get? Right? I try to keep it going as long as we can. That's what you do. You don't say, well, that's a great job, because in your mind, I know why we say that. I'm not, you're not the only, because in our mind, in your mind, in our mind, we're trying to reinforce the thinking process. If you really want to reinforce the thinking process, respond to the kid in a real way. That's how you reinforce the thinking process, not by giving them a candy. You see what I mean? Anyway, let's play this.
Wow, wow.
So if this was just a language class, we would break that down, explain what I did, how I did it. But this was a situation that I set up. I didn't know what she was going to say. She was pouring glue into this cup that was really annoying, by the way. She was, and I just pressed it just to see what happens, to see if that elicited language. That's what we want to do. We want to elicit real language from these kids. And that's, we can do, and my point is, we could do this at home, right? The school has not done it. We can do that. Great teachers do that, and they make incredible progress. But we don't have that choice. So let's take advantage of this. Nobody mentioned echolalia. This is a great slide of echolalia, which means the kid echoes language. But I think we'll skip this. Maybe we'll come back to this in the Q&A, because this is another story. It's another story of exemplifies my approach. So we'll save that. But I will play this. In the beginning, and people talked about kids that have no language. Here's a kid with no language. Now she's 2.5, but still, it's going to be the same approach if the kid's 18. Hold it.
Should ask Saki if they can hear the video.
Saki, could you hear the video?
What do I do? Say push it. Tell me, push it. I do it. Push it.
Thanks, Jenny.
Push it. Say push it. Say push it. Let me. You say it. I do it. I do it. Push it. Say push it.
Okay, right? Okay, there's no language there. I'm trying to elicit something, there's nothing. 5 weeks later.
Julia, who should open the bottle? You open it, Rob. Who should open the bottle? Julia, who should open the bottle? Who should open the bottle? You open it, Rob. Who should open the bottle? You, Rob. Okay, I'm gonna open it.
I'm gonna let this go for a little bit.
Who should open the bottle? Who do you want to open the bottle? Who should open it? Do you want to open it, or should I open it? I open the bottle. Okay, yeah, okay, go ahead. You open the bottle. I love open the bottle. Who should open? The birdie eat the bottle? Well, let's try the birdie. Let's see if the birdie can open the bottle. Here. Could the bird open the bottle? Could the birdie open the bottle? Could the birdie open the bottle?
Open the bottle.
No, the birdie can't open the bottle. No way.
Eat it.
No, you better not eat my tree.
I scared her.
Don't eat the tree. I'll be a bad birdie if he eats my tree.
Don't eat the tree.
Don't eat the tree.
Don't eat the tree.
Don't eat the tree. Don't.
Don't eat it. I want to take a nap.
Take a nap. Yeah, you can take a nap, birdie.
Don't eat the tree.
Yeah.
Now there's a little dog.
Don't eat the tree, doggy.
Don't eat the tree, doggy. I'm sorry.
Okay, okay. Again, if you see what I'm doing, I'm asking more questions and telling her what to say. In the beginning I did. I wanted to elicit some kind of language with you open the bottle, but she got connected. Anyway, this is the kind of, and I have tapes of her every month for a year. But in any case, I'm showing this to encourage you where somebody can be nonverbal, connect to language, and it's like a log jam. Imagine somebody has all these ideas in their mind, because a lot of these kids are pretty bright. Just because you don't have language doesn't mean you're not smart. And now you could connect to language. It's like such a relief. It's just, and this is what happened with it and other kids. Like, oh man, this is going to help my life. And language comes sometimes, pretty quickly. Language and socialization, and it goes along with language, and like we said, it goes along with each other. What you could do at home, have your child recognize others. That's huge with some of our kids. Just recognize that somebody else exists. It's not always me. How do you do that? How do you actually do that? What's the practical, as Temple Grandin said, you're practical. Siblings and parents also have rights. So I'm going to a kid, a 5-year-old kid getting ice cream. He tells me I have to buy chocolate ice cream. No, I have to buy coffee ice cream because he wants coffee ice cream. He's going to get coffee, but he wants me to buy coffee. I don't like coffee ice cream. I don't like it. There's no way in the world that I'm going to get coffee ice cream. This is a huge learning experience for him. And this is a good suggestion for parents out there. And that is, you have a right. I have a right not to buy coffee ice cream. Now, that's the start of the learning experience. If he could understand that I'm not him, and I have my own feelings, and I'm a person too, right? And I'm not getting coffee ice cream. If he can understand the concepts behind that, then we have an incredible learning experience. This was the best, probably, we're not talking about 5 minutes. This is probably 25 minutes of what you want to call therapy or education, that I was challenged from the kid's point of view to accept that I'm not getting coffee ice cream because I'm not in his own world. I'm in my own world, and he could recognize me. If he recognizes me, guess what happens? Language comes. Because one of the reasons you speak is to get a response from another person. That's one of the reasons you speak in the first place. So, and there are about 5 or 6 of them. That's one of them. So you could use yourself, but make it real. If you don't make it real, the kid's gonna win. This kid wasn't gonna win that argument because I really don't like coffee ice cream. It was real. That's why it works. It's real. Be a messenger between mom and dad and sibling. What a great opportunity at home. Yeah, give daddy this this pencil. And in the other room or wherever, dad gets the pencil and says, no, I really wanted 2 pencils. No, this one doesn't have an eraser. No, go back and ask mommy to give me one that's sharpened. Whatever. Have the kid go back and forth, see if they can relay a message between mom and dad. It's perfect for one kid out there. I'm not saying everyone should do this, but it's a great idea for somebody. And it's something you could easily do at home, and it might be really significant. If you notice the film with Julia, and I'm sorry if I see you and I tape a session, I can't keep everyone's name anonymous because I talk about their names. With Julia, of course I have permission to show this, it's a lot of questions. Even if your kid doesn't answer questions, they know no, they go like this, they say no. So see if they can say yes. Challenge the kid. Start thinking of a good possible match. Okay, we have Zoom, we could use it. There could be another kid out there that they could somehow relate to or talk to. That's a picture. This is in Maine. Do you know this? Puri? Yes, one person, Paravi is smiling. Oh, listen. This is one of the most amazing things I've ever eaten. It's what, puri is it called? I call it balloon bread. So with this family, whose kid I was seeing, whatever, 4 or 5 hours a day, 6, 7 hours a day sometimes with the kid, every day. And this is about this is how I teach socialization. It goes down so easily. And as soon as I'm ready to finish, and there's a cook there, in-house cook, I find another one on my plate. You guys are amazing. And like I'm eating that, and I have to say the truth, and she might be listening now, and I have to tell her the truth. After 6 or 7 of these, I was a little embarrassed. I just keep on eating them, right? And the father said, to make me feel comfortable, he said, the last person was here ate 10 of these, which was nice. It really kind of calmed me down because I was really embarrassed. And it was phenomenal. Now, this kid here that you're going to be seeing him, older kid, language is fine, Asperger's. I used that example. I said to him, he said, oh, you must have asked for more, right? How do you get more without asking for it? This linear kind of mentality, typical Asperger's. I said, I didn't ask for it. Well, that's impossible. You had to ask for it. No. Here's the question. I asked him. As long as he's thinking about it, I'll keep asking. You see what I'm saying? I'll say, well, how could they possibly know I want more if I didn't ask? And if I see he's thinking about it, who am I to abandon that exercise if he's still thinking about it? He says, no, you have to. No. And we go back and forth, 10 times. Finally, he says, oh, yeah. I say, visualize it. They saw the way you were eating it. They saw how you were smiling. They saw how you loved it. This kid doesn't read body language. Now, that's very common. We know that in general. These kids don't read body language. They get into a lot of trouble like that. Who's teaching that? Are you teaching that? Is the teacher teaching that? Is the therapist teaching that? Yes, I think. This is one example of how we teach that. So just the idea in his head, like they noticed how you were and how you, and the way you, I probably have a tape of this, like I have everything else. I didn't tell him anything. The definition of education is giving the kid as little help as possible so they could realize whatever they need to learn themselves. I'm not putting words in their mouth. That's the other end of things. He got this totally on his own. I know was coming from within himself, that I didn't have to ask. I could read a person's body language. So that's how this incredible experience helped me with this kid teaching. So we can't do this anymore. Here's a shot I took in the Coimbatore subway while I was waiting for my kid. We can't take public transportation. He's here now laughing. This is him in India with the Brahmin bull. Okay.
Yeah, the beard is not the same right now.
The beard's a little different. Okay, I agree. Okay, he's laughing. I'm glad you're here, Jonah. Friends, we can't do this anymore. You know half these people. He just spoke a week ago. Friends at the gatherings, we can't do this anymore. But this is what we can do. What will make you and your child thrive? All right? We talked about language. That might be that's the core of the talk. But I really want to emphasize going with your kid's flow, that it's limitless. So here's this kid I took just a little while ago. And then, look, don't tell me you don't have beautiful places because of the, what is it called? The Viangiri Mountains in Coimbatore. It's absolutely beautiful. So going with the flow of the kid, getting a crayfish. This girl knows more about crayfish than I'll ever know. She knows the life cycle. She says it gives off 1,000 babies. I don't even know if it's true, but I bet it is. Looking at whatever, even if you can't go outside, there are things that your child is really magic. I have a closet full of magic. Here, look. I have here Life magazine from 1945, and it has pictures of the actual Holocaust victims, bodies piled up. I mean, it's not for everybody, but it might be for that one kid who's obsessed with Hitler. Capture their interest and go with it. You know, I have here a sheet of $2 bills. These are my materials. Are they real? Are they not real? It's going to provoke thinking and language. I have tons of, I got tons of things that I found. Amethyst, right? Chemistry experiments. You got the idea. So go with his flow. There are plenty of card tricks. You could do card tricks. This isn't okay. I know a lot of kids don't want to socialize, but it doesn't matter. We could still stimulate them to what their interests are. There are online classes. I'm doing this now with a couple of kids. Class Central, EDX. You don't have to write it down. You could email me, or you could just go online. Free classes, literally thousands. This one place has, I think, 4,000 classes. Intellectual stuff, like from Harvard. But I know we want to take questions and all that, but I want to tell you a true story to bring this point home about Isaac Newton. Some of you may already know this. Isaac Newton was involved with a plague. I've seen people call it the bubonic plague, which makes it a little more juicy, but it's really the Great Plague of London in the 1600s. This is true. And 1/4 of the people in London died. He was in Cambridge, part of Cambridge University. And what happened? He was forced to go home 60 miles away to his parents' house, okay? No schooling. And the resource I said was, He thrived without his teachers. He thrived without his teachers. Thriving. We're not surviving anymore. We're thriving. School is great, but we don't have that choice anymore. Isaac Newton actually thrived without it. Did he have guidance? I don't know. Our kids are going to probably need some guidance. Maybe he did. Maybe he didn't. But he wrote papers while he was at home for a while. It wasn't a few months, it was a while. He wrote papers that became the beginning of calculus. And there's some evidence, I don't know if this is true, but there's some evidence that he had an apple tree where he was in Massachusetts. And it's very possible that he saw this apple fall and discovered gravity. So that's my point. Use this as an opportunity. If someone asked me, how do you get these kids to thrive? This is my answer. Someone asked me this the other day on the phone. Summarize my whole talk in one sentence. If these kids are involved and thriving on something of interest, whether it's their interest or your interest, and they capture that interest of yours, that's what we want. I'm going to share with you one thing that happened fairly recently. This was a kid in Denver, and I'm on the phone with him. I said, what time is it there? 5:30. I said, oh, it's 7:30. And he found it's a 2-hour difference. All right, I went with it. So he was interested. I went. So I said, oh, okay, the rises differently, this and that. And, he still seemed interested. I said, how many miles is it around the earth if you have to go around the earth? He said 1 million, because he says 1 million. I said, no, let me just tell you. It's about 25,000 and something, but let's just say 24,000 miles. And and it goes around once a day. And how many hours in a day? He's still with me. I hope you're with me. He says 24 hours. He knew that. So it goes 24 hours, 24,000 miles. How many miles in 1 hour? He gets it. About a mile, about 1 hour for every mile. How far is it from New York to Denver? He says, for one, wait, it's 1,000 miles in 1 hour, right? 24,000 miles around the earth, 24 hours, 1,000 miles in an hour. And he says, 2,000 miles. Wow. And then I had to look it up. After I got off, I said, I better be right about this. And it was about 2,000 miles, right? 1,800. But here's my point. This is my point. This kid had Asperger's. He had attention deficit disorder, ADHD. For those 20 minutes, there was no problem. He wasn't attention deficit. He wasn't displaying his Asperger's. He was just a kid interested in whatever he's interested in. In this case, this difference in time zones that he was in. And the parent is there saying, wow, I never thought of that. And I was saying, yeah, I never thought of that either. For every hour is about 1,000 miles, right? It's true. That's the way it's set up. And yeah, I just went with the kid's flow. But that's my point. When this kid is involved with something of real interest to them, like Isaac Newton, then all of a sudden, you have sort of, a different kid in a way, and you have a kid who could learn more of everything we want them to learn, whether it's communication, language, or intellectual development. So that's it. I'm happy to take questions. I'm very proud of the book. 6 awards. This is my favorite picture of Temple, who wrote the foreword. And again, feel free to email me. I will answer everyone's email. Text me. I'll answer the text. And then maybe I don't know why. Maybe I can stay around a little bit and talk to people privately after if you have questions. I knew there were a few people earlier who just didn't want to talk in front of 200 people. So I'd be happy to talk to people privately. But thanks for coming. If there are questions, I'd be happy to answer, or responses or criticism.
So we have quite a few questions. The first one is by Satya Stengathir. He says, how to convert stop echolalia in a 4-year-old child?
Oh, this person was paying attention. All right, hold it. Let me play this clip. Are we ready for this? We're good? Everybody? Yes, I see Paravi shaking her
You're
head.
gonna catch it and then throw it to me. What should I do?
So, okay, this is gonna be a little learning session because there's a question. So now we can get into this. I'm gonna play this again so you know what I'm talking about. Echolalia means they repeat what they just heard. I said something about throw it to me. This is a boy. He says, throw it to me. All right, so that's echolalia. That's the example. I want to try to break that. I want to try to, right? So let's just try it again. Are you with me? You're okay with this?
You're gonna catch it and then throw
Catch
it
it.
to me.
All right, catch it, throw it to me. He's just repeating it. He's not going to get away with that. I get it. No meaningful speech. Speech has to be meaningful.
What should I do?
Is the question again. I'm asking him a question, open-ended. What should I do? I'm not telling him. It's coming from him.
Catch the pen?
Catch was good. It's not good enough. Catch what? Right? There's a balloon he wants me to throw. That's the setup. I should have told you that. Catch what? Catch the pen? Catch the paper? I'm trying to elicit language. I'm trying to do what I said in this whole talk.
Or catch the balloon?
I gave him a choice. He said catch the balloon. You heard that. Do you believe it was really real language, or do you believe that it was echolalic? I think he was just saying it. I don't think it was real. You see what I'm saying? Do I have to play that again, or you got it? You got it. Okay.
Catch paper. Catch paper. Should I throw the paper?
Catch the paper, I throw the paper. Okay? If the kid's going to connect language to reality, he says, throw the paper, I throw him the paper. Maybe that will help him to realize what he said. Self-awareness. All this is going on in this one 30-second tape. Ah, that's real. Right? That's real. He got the paper. I don't know what's going on in his head, but it might be something. Wait a second. I said, catch the paper. He threw me paper. Now he points. There's affect. There's no language without affect. I said there were like 5 or 6 things. There's no language without affect, knowing I exist, knowing I respond. Now he says catch. Now he points to the balloon, catch the balloon. We got real language. That's the answer to your question. How do you break this echolalia? You use real situations and have it come from the child. And now I give him the balloon. That's it. Okay, so I hope that answers the question about what approach you can use with echolalia. Anything else, Saki?
Yes, quite a few. There's Siddharth Gupta who asked how to decrease self-talking in a child.
Okay, you were breaking up. What was that?
Siddharth Gupta asked how do you decrease self-talking in a child?
Oh, okay. So the kid's talking to himself, and this is a very interesting question. These kids, they're on automatic. It could be lining things up. It could be talking to themselves. Why is he doing that? My guess is that it's actually a comforting thing. You know, it's actually something that's actually comforting him. We don't want to take that away, I think, all at once, because this is his way of being centered, being comfortable. But we want him to be engaged. When this kid is engaged with X, with anything, all of a sudden he's not talking to himself, right? The answer is leave that alone. I'll have kids lining up, you know, cars or little cars, and I'll turn one around and I'll turn it back. It's kind of cute, just to see what would happen. I'm not trying to be nasty, I'm just trying to see what happens. But the real answer to that is, and this comes from my point of view, which is a cognitive point of view. I'm not a behaviorist. Maybe I should explain that in the beginning. This isn't a behavioral approach, that the kid is doing something, change that behavior. I'm a behavior therapist. I want to change that behavior, but I want to change it by changing what's underneath that behavior. The kid does something you don't like, talking to himself, lining things up, or whatever it is. In order for that to change, I want this kid to be engaged in reality, engaged with his brother and sister. When he's engaged with it, it's mutually exclusive. If he's engaged with language and communicating with people, he's not talking to himself. So I'm saying, forget about that behavior. Let's work on what's even more important, and that is, here, I'll give you one example. Kid comes into my room. His first time I'm seeing him, there's like a size of like a big coin. His hand is bleeding. It's like seeing somebody with one arm. Do you say something or not say something? It's like so obvious. I didn't know what to say. And the mom immediately said, he does this because he's frustrated. Can't talk. He's frustrated. He does that. All right. How do you stop that? There are two ways of stopping it. Or what one way is, let's put some ointment on there so he doesn't like the taste. That stops the behavior. What I said to myself, I didn't tell the parent this. What I said to myself, I'm going to get this kid to talk. That's going to stop this. He's frustrated because he can't talk. I said, I'm going to get this kid. That's the fourth person in the book. Hey, I'm going to talk about that's the fourth person in the book of how I got this kid to talk. And after he started talking, he didn't need to do that. He wasn't frustrated anymore. So that's what we need to do. Look at what's underlying the behavior and trying to change that. Anything else?
Yes, in fact, do you have time to take more questions, Rob? I have a few more questions for you.
Sure, let's go to 10, I think. It's scheduled to 10, and then I'd be happy to talk to people
Sure. Yeah.
privately. Wednesday, I think actually I'm seeing somebody at 12. So I have, and my time. So I have an hour or two to talk to people, privately after this.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Anga Jaiswal asked how to control overexcitement in a 6-year-old child. Yeah.
Okay, is overexcitement means flapping? Does it mean hitting? Does it mean hurting? Does it mean having a tantrum? So all these things are different. If a kid is, I was working at a school, I was called in, this kid just runs away. I mean, the kid just can't run away. There's an immediate, we have to put out the fire. If we need to put out the fire, if the kid's hurting somebody, we got to do something immediately. And the best way to change behavior is this behavioral approach, the ABA kind of approach, to give them some reward or punishment to get them to change something that is really immediate, But we have this person, Chris Spinello, who's Asperger's person, who spoke at the conference a little over a year ago. And he was saying Everybody try to flap. Flap your hands. And he says, it feels good. Leave us alone. We're not hurting anybody. Leave us alone when we flap. It's okay. Why don't we just accept that? And that could be seen as excitement. So we need to judge that. What's the excitement? And remember, you have a life too. If it's affecting you, then that's part of the equation. That you can't tolerate somebody who's tugging at you every second. And that could be the excitement we're talking about. Like, wait, I have to live too. So you're part of this equation also. My kid reminded, we can have another group session that you could email me for the link and we could continue on Zoom. Like I have Zoom myself. We could, Saki's shaking her head. So you could go on, you could email me, rjb@autismspeech.com, and we could have a Zoom session either with a group or individually. So I'm happy to do that. I could send you the link. Maybe another day. Email me and maybe we can find another day.
Sure.
I have
Go ahead. 3 more questions for you, Rob. So Sudha, who's a parent, she asks, my daughter is 5.5 years old and nonverbal. She makes sounds and communicates well, but does not talk. If she's holding a balloon in her hand, she would point it to me and would ask me to say balloon and would not try to tell it by herself. What do
Wait. She has a balloon in her hand. She will point to the balloon and ask the mother to say balloon.
Correct.
Okay.
Would ask me to say balloon and would not try to speak it herself. What do I do to encourage her at least to start speaking a few small words?
All right. Good. She sounds like a stubborn kid. You say the balloon. I don't want to say balloon. We have to be as stubborn as these kids. Now, I've been doing this a long time. I've seen thousands of people over 30, 40 years. And when I get a kid who doesn't speak, I'll often ask the speech therapist, is there a physical reason for this kid not to speak? 99 out of 100, they say there's nothing physically wrong with their structure of their mouth, right? You know what I mean? To prevent them from speaking. We have to be as stubborn as she is. What would happen if you say, in effect, no, you tell me balloon, you say it. Let's stick with that. I don't know what's gonna happen. The kid's gonna cry? Well, why should you say it when she can say it? Let's challenge her. I would love to Zoom with this kid because I've been Zooming people in India ever since talking. I'm still seeing people in India. There are two. This is part of parent training. Let's train you guys or this person to elicit that language. I am sure, whatever that means, that we can get this kid to speak. Why? Because the kid knows what she wants to say. She knows she wants you to say it, which is very sophisticated. That's a really good thing, that she understands that you're there and you could say it, and she wants you to say it, so there's a relationship there. So we're not starting from scratch here. We have a kid with some of the things that she needs to understand in order to speak, and that's part of the talk here today. We have to teach these kids to be ready to speak, right? Forget about school. They have to do something with their minds to be ready to speak. This is the perfect opportunity for this parent to get her child to speak. And the balloon is just one example. I'm sure there is 100 examples where she'll drag the parent to the refrigerator. There's no reason why this kid cannot speak other than she's not connecting to language. Other than, look, if she feels language is going to make her life easier, don't you think she would talk? And what happens when she's not with her mother? And you know what? Mothers say to me for the last 30 years, I can't die because my kid needs me. I have to live forever, right? Because that's the relationship that's established. Nobody can take care of my kid like me, which is totally true. We have to get these kids to be independent because we're all not going to live forever. I'm sorry, that's the truth, especially me. But we have to get these kids, we have to force these kids, in a way, to come out and communicate and speak. There's no question this kid, and from what you're telling me, could learn how to speak. There's no question about it.
The next question is by Francina Mary. She asks, could you highlight what magical speech is? And,
Oh, okay.
and her second question is, how do you control hyperness through speech?
Control.
How do you control hyperness in autistic children?
Spell that. Hyperness?
Yeah, like hyperactiveness. I think that's.
Oh, hyperactiveness. Okay. It's a language issue. Okay. Magical thinking. I think I made that term up. I don't know. That's the term I use. So I understand that it doesn't resonate. The kid will say something, and it's usually a word like open. It just works for everything. Everything is open. I had a kid a few weeks ago, everything was go. The first time she said it, I said, wow, great. She's saying go, which was appropriate. Then I found out she was saying go when she wanted her mother. Go meant everything. And like I was saying before, they'll say something that works, and it works for everything. And it's the easy way out. Why can't a kid say the whole sentence? Why can't a kid speak in a whole sentence? You heard Julia there. She said, I saw that clip about 300 times. You only saw it once. She said, I want, and it was like skipping her, I want to open the bottle. I want you, meaning me, to open the bottle. So her speech was, she elicited, it wasn't a perfect sentence, but it was something. So these kids could say more than what they're saying, even if it's difficult for you to understand, have them say something more than just go, more than just open. It's there in their heads. I get very adamant. When the kid understands what they want to say, no more magical thinking, as far as I'm concerned. That's it. It's not going to work. We taught them this. Now we have to unteach them this. And as far as being hyperactive, I'm going to give you an answer that you may not like. That's a behavior. I need to know what's underneath it. I need to know what's going on with, what do you mean by hyperactivity? There was a kid that just kept on running up the steps and running up the steps. I mean, he was really kind of hyperactive. And this was at a camp. And then then I observed him. All right, this is kind of what I'm saying. I'm observing him. He ran up the steps, and then this is a slide. He went up the slide, the steps of the slide, and he stopped. I said, what kid walks up the top of the slide and not slide down? He didn't have that whole sequence. He went up to the stop, and he just stopped there. I go, what's going on? Then I realized if there were 1,000 steps, he would keep doing it. He would just keep on going. And then the steps stopped and he was lost. So he was hyperactive because of this perseveration. He just would keep going. So I had to teach him not to perseverate anymore. This has nothing to do with steps. That's why I need context. So we had him, I asked, it's an interesting story. I asked my assistant at the camp who ate lunch with him, I said, how does this kid eat? He says, you're not gonna believe this. He eats all the peas first and all the peas of everyone else's plate. And then he goes to the next thing. In other words, he just has this perseverative kind of action. I said, all right, let's get 2 things he likes and let him try to switch eating from one thing to the other. He likes them both. Let his mind start to be more flexible. So if the hyperactivity is from could be from 100 things, is from a perseveration. Let's break the perseveration. I'm using eating peas and mashed potatoes, and I don't care about the behavior of walking up the steps anymore because there's something underlying it. So that's the best answer I could give with the hyperactivity. I see we're over time.
I have one last question for you, Rob. This is Deepthi Sudshi. She says her child is 6 and nonverbal, though communicates well, is using an AAC app called Avaz. Is that a good idea? Do you think that will encourage him to talk? She says we've also used PEX earlier, and he took it well.
He did not do well with PEX, or he did well with PEX.
He did well, yeah.
Here's my opinion. What could be more real than looking outside and seeing a butterfly or something of interest in illicit language like that? I understand PEX. It's a picture, using pictures to communicate. And I've had these discussions with people who use sign language. Nothing against anything. Anything that helps communication is great. But as far as speaking is concerned, you need emotion. You need affect in order to speak. That's one of the few things you need. You need this kind of involvement. I'd rather give this kid something he doesn't like to eat and have the kid say, no, I don't want it. He's going like this anyway, he's pushing it away. Why not have the kid say no? The words are matching his feeling, his actions. It seems so much more dynamic, so much more real. And here, this is why I say this. How did you learn to speak? How did we learn to speak? We didn't need these apps. We're breaking things down into some mechanical way. Why don't we teach these kids to speak the way we learn to speak? So this is what I mean by that. One of our first words is probably, it could be mom or dad, it could be that, but it's often a word like up, because up is used in so many different ways. Pick me up. You want to go up? Get up. You know, we're giving, and I see Marion Margulies is here, my psychologist friend from New York, and you could wave to people who could see you. It's great to see you. She's great. We've done lots of work together. So the kid will say up. Why? Not because it's mechanized, not because it's planned. Think of what I'm talking about. PEX is pictures. Where do the pictures come from? They come from you. The kid doesn't draw the pictures. You have the pictures. So I'm answering this in a philosophical way. The language is going to come from them. This kid would never have said empty if there was a picture of water, right? Because just think broadly about this. So with a kid who doesn't speak at all, if PEX is working, I'm saying, or sign language is working, I'm saying that's great. Okay, that's even more of a reason for this kid to talk. It's not a substitute for talking at all. And even people who are for these different devices will say that it's not a substitute. So let's get this kid to talk. So that's kind of my perspective on this.
Okay, thank you so much, Rob. So do we say—
I want to thank everybody for coming, and also your patience in the beginning. Saka, you saved the day. Like I said, email me or text me.
Yeah,
and we can set up as.
So the text that you see, just add a +1 to that, and then those digits, and you can WhatsApp Rob.
Thank you. And then I'm going to be here for a little bit. I have an appointment in a couple of hours. Before that, I'm going to be taking criticism from my son here, who's going to give me a lesson in technology. And so thank you very much. And please be in touch if you think I could help, really.
Yeah, and please do fill out the feedback form that we've left so that once we get your suggestions on what you'd like Rob to present on, we can ask him to do another webinar for us soon.
My kid just said the same thing. If
Yeah.
there are enough people great minds think alike. I wasn't one of them. If there are enough people who are interested in gathering through IAC or through my own Zoom, we can do this again. We could do this on when did I say? Maybe Friday.
Yeah, we'll fix something up. So I've left the feedback form below. Your suggestions there so that I can get in touch with Rob and give him a list of topics that you all are interested in for him to shine some light upon.
Very good. Thank you, Saki. Thank you so much, Saki.
Thank you, Rob. So, and we also have the video of this webinar that's going to be out soon, another 4 working days or so. So again, you go to the form. If you want a copy of that video, then do leave your email ID with us and we will send the video to you.
Oh, good. I like to see it myself. People have been asking me too, so that's great. Thank you.
I'll edit the first 10 minutes.
What's that? Oh, yes. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much, Rob. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So she
So let's see. I could